Welcome to anyone taking the time to watch this video. My name is Reorder. I'm with Applied Engineering, and I'm going to take a few minutes to go over some of the updates to Inventor 2020.1 release. First thing, in regards to the frame generator, is the ability to be able to copy the properties from one member to that of an additional member. So looking in this assembly, you see I have two smaller square tubes, and I want those copied to the exact same properties as these 2 by 2 by 1/8 inch wall square tubes. So if I scroll through my model tree, my design tree, I can multi-select now those two members, right click and edit with frame generator. And then within this dialog box, you will see that you have this eye here. And with this release, you're able to now make changes to multi members at one time, as opposed to only being able to update one member at a time or change one member at a time. So just by selecting on an eyedropper, I can then select what I want those two smaller members to get changed to, such as that 2 by 2 tubes, and then you can see they get updated. Click on OK, and they will update for you. So just the ability to update multiple members at one instance as opposed to individually. Next thing is with regards to the design accelerator. So if I go into the design tab, and I'm going to fire up this shaft tool, go to a general isometric view, and I'm going to place that. In the upper right, you see there's now this toggle button. Enables, disables the subassembly structure. Right now that toggle button is turned on. So if I click on OK, what I'm telling Inventor is that I want to create a subassembly of the shaft. It will be called shaft1.im, placed directly underneath this parent assembly file. Then with that subassembly will be a part file. Now if I click on cancel and instead I turn that toggle button off and then click on OK, essentially telling Inventor I only want to create just a IPT file directly under my main assembly file. So the addition of that toggle button in the 2020.1 release of Inventor. The rest of the enhancements to the update are just some general enhancements. So I'm going to go over the ability to reorder positional representations. Toggling over to this bomb vise, looking in my tree, I have this representations folder, and there's this view representation. I have taken the time to create multiple view reps. So if I click on any one of these, default one just shows that sliding jaw is transparent, and then some of these other ones really didn't do any changes to it. I just generated them just so I can show you that you can now hold down your left mouse button and you can actually reorder your view representations. Hold down your left mouse button, drag it to where you want it, drop it. You can just go back to the way it was, default through default 3, ordering your view reps. If I go into my bill of material box, there's now an addition to this dialog box, which is the ability to create virtual components. Prior to the release, the way you'd go about creating a virtual component, basically a component that really doesn't exist in your model, you can't visually see it. Could be lubricant, oil, water, whatever it may be. You'd have to go over your assemble tab, click on create, and then just turn on this virtual component toggle button and create that lubricant or what have you. So now you can go into your bill of material instead and just click on virtual component, give it a name, click on OK, and then it gets added to your bomb vise assembly file. Alright, staying in this assembly file, I'm going to activate this default one file. And you can see this default one view rep just has that sliding jaw is transparent. And if I go in, and I'm going to create a new drawing of this vise. I'll go to a general isometric view, make it a little bit larger. There's a toggle button here, this associative link. This associative link function has always been here, but what's been updated in this release is just the ability for Inventor to remember if you had this checkbox checked or unchecked in a previous session of Inventor. So if I leave it checked, I'm saying I want to be able to have my drawing view update to any changes that happen in the assembly model, or do I not want those updates to happen? So the update to 2020.1 is just for Inventor to remember if you had it checked or unchecked. So the next session I open up Inventor, this associated link would be checked. If I keep that checked, and then I'll go to my actual assembly file, and let's just right click on that, say invisible, come over to here, it changes to invisible. Now obviously if I uncheck that, I'm saying I don't want this drawing view to stay linked to my assembly model. Come over here, find that sliding jaw, turn the visibility back on. Let's actually enable it so you can see it. Come back over to my drawing, and Inventor doesn't keep that link there. I could go ahead and check that box, and brings that sliding jaw back into view. All right, next thing in relation to mirroring parts within your assembly file. So I have these cylinder heads here, and I want to add another one over to the right here. So if I go into my pattern and then mirror, Inventor has kind of updated this dialog box. These work planes, these three work planes, YZ and XY, used to be placed horizontally within this dialog box, and now they just changed it to vertically. And what these planes actually do for you is these planes are the planes in your order directly underneath your main assembly file. So you can say I want to mirror component, and instead of actually specifically selecting a plane you want to use, you can say I want to use one of my origin planes. If you click on it, it will give you, and obviously if it's not right, click on a different plane, and so on. But obviously none of these origin planes are going to suffice to mirroring that cylinder head to the other side. Go in and select the appropriate one, and it slaps it over to the right side there. You can click on next and then accept that, and then I've mirrored it about that proper plane, right? All right, so toggling over to this sheet metal part, the next few updates are related to the hole command. So I'm going to go into my part model tree of this sheet metal part and just double click on that hole, go in and edit it here. So one thing that was added to the release of 2020.1 is this toggle button here, allow center point creation. Currently right now it's turned on. So what that allows me to do is if I haven't already placed sketch points on my surface, I want to place those holes. If I have it turned on, I can actually place additional holes on that surface. Prior to the release, this button did not exist, and really the only way that you could place holes at this moment was if you already had unconsumed sketch points on that surface. So really good addition to be able to have that toggle button where you can keep adding additional holes. Adding to that, if I go to the sketch tab here, I can click on, just rotate it a little bit, and click on this dimension, and I want to add a dimension to that hole. I'll say 28 millimeters. Fully define it here, add this, essentially this vertical value. But actually enter a value. An update to the release is the ability to link values within the hole command. So this cell already highlighted, I can come up and say I want this vertical dimension to be equal to that of the horizontal value. The actual parameter name is D170. Click on OK, and go in and change this to 35 millimeters. It updates that other dimension, linking values to one another. Going back into the hole dialog box, Another update is when you go and select in a cell where there's a value, essentially, what Inventor is, it will highlight the entire cell. Previous release, if you clicked in, you may have just gotten a cursor where you had placed your cursor, or potentially you may have only selected the unit, or you may have only selected the value. Now Inventor's smart enough to know that if I just click out of here and then click back into here, it wants to select the entire cell. Adding to the whole dialog box, another update. If I go into this thread class drop-down menu, you can now enter a first character to very quickly select from one of those three thread classes. So the first character is 2, 3, or 1. So if I just select on 1, it highlights it like so, and certainly hit enter to accept that. So I just changed that whole to a thread class of 1B. All right, well, let's get out of that, and I'm going to go into a drawing. Got this up right now. Inventor 2020.1 update now allows you to add to your iProperties within the drawing file. Find that component, that .ipt file, or it could even be a .iam file. Scroll down through your short menu, find your iProperties, brings up your iProperties. These iProperties are coming from your model. They're not actually coming from your drawing, right? So if I go to the project tab, I could fill in any one of these properties, and they are actually updating my properties within my .ipt part file. Would be the same also for a .iam file. Another thing you may notice is in some of the cells, if Inventor thinks that the spelling is wrong, you now have a spell check within your iProperty dialog box. Places a red line underneath it, just like it would in like Microsoft Office applications. Right click on it, Inventor will do its best job of figuring out what word you actually want. Just like Microsoft, you can say add to dictionary, ignore, and so on. So if I do ignore, red line goes away. First initial, last name, Inventor thinks that's wrong. Scroll through, and it thinks I may want one of these words, or again, just ignore it. And there you go. Going over to the custom tab within your iProperties, another addition is the ability to multi-select your custom properties now. Holding down your control key, select the first field, and I could select the last field or the third field in this case, and maybe wanted to delete 2 at a time. I could click on delete and those 2 values would go away. It can go the same way as using your shift key. Select the first one and select the last one, and all 3 fields get highlighted. Prior to this release, you can only delete 1 custom field at a time. All right, let's go back over to the vise here. If I scroll down to the bottom of my assembly tree, you can see I have created these 3 folders. There really isn't any components or files in those folders, but similar to your iProperties custom tab, you can also multi-select folders. So I selected the first one and the third one just by holding Control key down, and then right-click and delete those 2 folders at a time. Prior to this, you can only delete 1 folder at a time. If I hold just Shift key down, select the first folder, select the last folder, it would select everything in between there, and again, right-click and delete all 3 folders at once. Speeds things up a little bit. And then last on these updates, back to this sheet metal file, this is related to 3D annotations. So for any of you that use 3D annotations, when placing a dimension now on your part or your sheet metal part, you can place your dimension, right click and accept it. So the update to the 2020.1 is the ability to change what work plane you want a dimension placed on. I still want that 2.72 dimension, but I want it to reference a different plane. So I'll kind of rotate to the other side, select on this surface, and now Inventor reorientates it to that particular work plane. Grab the dimension, place it where you want it, just like so. So the ability to change the work plane in which your dimensions are on. Do one more time here. Say there to there, drag it down, and just accept it. So maybe I want that dimension to be placed on that particular work plane. So I'm going to go back to an isometric view, something like so. Just simply right click on that dimension, and there's the addition for change the annotation plane. Scroll back down to the bottom, select on the bottom surface, maybe rotate around a little bit, grab that dimension, move it up to where you want it, and there you go. For those of you that have taken the time to watch my video, I appreciate it. These were most of the updates to the Inventor 2020.1 release. Thank you for your